It's your worst nightmare. Imagine being a girl and stuck watching Sunday Night Football. Now that might seem sexist, and yes it is sexist because my audience analysis survey conducted on April 4th says 12 out of 13 people said that they'd be interested in learning more about the highest scoring games in 3 sport categories, men and women. When asked why, half the class said because it would be interesting, while one person in the class said because it would make me happy. There is a world record for almost anything you can think of, but some of the coolest and most intense of these 3 high-scoring sports games. My attraction to intense high-scoring sports games lead me to investigate the highest-scoring games in the 3 following categories: football, basketball, and soccer. First up is the highest-scoring game in the National Football League history. It is, according to the online article Hall of Fame, published on January 1st, 2005, by ProFootballHOF.com, the highest scoring game in the National Football League history was the New York Giants versus the Washington Redskins. The article is 13 years old, but since the record has not been beaten or changed, it is a reliable and credible source. And there was a total of 113 points scored with 16 touchdowns. The final score was 72-41, with the New York Giants winning. Now, it was quite comical because in an after interview, the Redskins coach, Otto Graham, jokingly said it was a great defensive battle. And a fun fact from the game that each football in the NFL costs $22.50. And with each touchdown comes an extra point conversion where they kick and it'll go through the field goal post. Now, back in 1966, they didn't have nets behind the goalpost, so every football that go out there gets to get kept by an audience member. There was a total of $315 worth of footballs lost that day. Now that we all know about the highest scoring game in football history, let's look at basketball. 2 of the best offenses in the NBA during the 1983-84 season produced one of the wildest games in NBA history. On December 13th, 1983, the Pistons won the historic game in triple overtime, 186-184. This was stated by the NBA staff in the online article titled Legendary Moments in NBA History, Detroit Pistons Win NBA's Highest Scoring Game, published on December 13, 2017. Now, for those that don't know the teams, here we go. Detroit Pistons are from Detroit, Michigan, and they've only won 3 NBA championships, which were 1989, 1990, and 2004. The Denver Nuggets are from Denver, Colorado, and they have never won an NBA championship. So the fact that these 2 teams were able to create the highest scoring game in NBA history is pretty amazing. At the end of the regulation time in the first game, it was 145-145. This is already a high scoring game as it is. Now, to get to triple overtime is not easy. You have to tie 3 times in a row. At the end of regulation, end of overtime, and end of double overtime. And the statistics of the game are pretty incredible. On the Detroit team, 1 player, Isaiah Thomas, scored 47 points. And also Long John scored 41 points. 2 players out of the entire team scored 88 points out of the 186 scored. That just goes to show how some players tend to dominate certain fields like LeBron James and all them. So now basketball seems like a game that can go high in score and it's not really too surprising. But you'd think soccer is much harder to achieve a high score. You're wrong. 149-0.
Wow.
According to an online article published by Football Blog on March 2nd, 2017, titled 7 Football Matches That Broke Records for Most Goals Scored. 2 top-tier Madagascar teams are going head-to-head in the World Cup in 2002 on October 31st. The 2 teams, AS Edema and, I didn't write it, it is Stade Olympique is the full name of the second team. About halfway through the match, the score was 0-0. Everything was going smooth sailing. And all of a sudden, Stade Olympique did not like a call that the referee gave. So, you know, you're in Gordy's, you're going through the checkout line, and there's that mother and her kid, and the kid wants the M&M. The mom's like, no, you're not getting them. Throws a temper tantrum. That's what Stade Olympique did. They threw a temper tantrum. They scored 149 times on themselves within less than half of a soccer match. So, it's pretty amazing that fully grown men do that sort of thing. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't really like that, being like the world record. So I looked up the previous world record, and it was a lot more reasonable. The score was a team in Australia named Arbroath had 36 and Bon Accord had 0. Now, this game took place on September 12, 1885. 1885. It was much more common to score high back then because in the World Cup, they would let complete amateurs come in. It did not matter who you were. They're like, sure, we'll take your team. So it ended up being a complete amateur team that had never played before against one of the best teams at the time. And according, in a different article titled On This Day, published by Sun on September 12, 2014, Bon Accord was apparently a cricket-playing team that accidentally got an invitation to come play soccer in the World Cup. So they were like, why not? And they did it, and they ended up setting a world record. In conclusion, there was a world record for almost anything you can think of, but some of the coolest and most intense are these 3 high-scoring sports games. I have covered football, which was the New York Giants versus the Washington Redskins, with a score of 72-41. Basketball, with the Pistons at 186 and the Nuggets at 184. And soccer with 139-0 with AS Edema versus Stade Olympique. Whether you are male or female, hopefully we can all find interest in world records.